Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is the most iconic line in the Declaration of Independence. I came across this line a few days ago in an opinion article which used it in a very confused way. The context was as follows. The government must increase social welfare programs in order to guarantee the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to the people of the United States. It went on to say that part of this social welfare program should be a living wage, a kind of weekly allowance paid to people who don't have traditional jobs or the drive to start their own business. The allowance, in theory, gives these people the liberty to pursue what makes them happy. The examples given were of artists, designers, mathematicians, independent journalists, independent scientific researchers, and so on. Now, I am not going to go into the economics of all this. What I will say is that this is basically the communist idea of utopia, where the government is a kind, motherly figure that takes care of its citizens as though they were her children. The opinion article even used the phrase, "the future is female," and alluded to this concept of the almighty benevolent female caretaker style of government. However, as any actual mother can tell you, giving your children an allowance for doing whatever they feel like doing is not a good or benevolent thing to do. And with that bit of common sense, I will lay the economics of this to rest. If you wish to delve deeper, I suggest looking into the Jamestown colony, who originally shared the same idea and abandoned it in favor of the ancient phrase, "Those who do not work shall not eat." The basic ignorance of labor and economics wasn't what bothered me about this article. What bothered me was their linkage to the phrase in the Declaration of Independence. Contrary to what the opinion piece would have you believe, the phrase "pursuit of happiness" does not mean do what feels good or do what makes you happy. Just like the right to life doesn't mean only your life and your survival. It means your life, my life, everybody's life. The things which enhance life, sustain life, cause life to flourish, and ultimately the source of all life. It is the right to life and living in all its formats, including the bad ones. Everybody wants a good life, but you have the right to a bad one if you so choose, or if you are so misfortuned. From there we get the right to liberty, because liberty makes life flourish. Freedom to use your agency and learn from the consequences of your free actions. These are what allow living things to learn and grow. Now, you can have good liberty where people freely choose to do what is right, or you can have an abuse of liberty where they freely choose to do what is wrong. But that choice must be up to the people themselves. This idea of liberty and the wisdom surrounding it comes directly from the biblical passage which states, "As for you, my friends, you were called to be free, but do not let this freedom become an excuse for letting your desires control you. Instead, serve one another with love." This was all considered basic, common academic knowledge up until my grandparents' generation, when the school system stopped teaching ancient wisdom. And finally, the pursuit of happiness. Not the pursuit of feelings of happiness, but the pursuit of happiness itself as a choice. This language is easily confused in today's vocabulary. People mistake it for the right to seek happiness, which is part of it, but the word pursuit in the 1700s tended towards more than just your aspirations in life and not just something you are chasing after. A mouse can pursue a piece of cheese and may or may not find it, but a ship can also pursue the open seas and never be without them. They are different levels of the same concept, which in the late 18th century was just generally understood. If you were to translate that phrase from the Declaration of Independence into modern American language, you might say it as the right to all the good and bad that comes with life, liberty, and the journey of happiness. You see, these things are not just goals, they are also journeys. Life is a journey, liberty is a journey, and happiness is a journey. And you have the right to undertake these journeys without the government standing in your way. Your life could end up being an adventure or it could be a nightmare, but it is not the government's place to pick one or the other for you. Whether your liberty will be used or abused is not the government's decision, and whether or not you will choose to be happy is up to you, not the government. You are not guaranteed a pleasant journey, only that you will take one, and it will be yours to undertake. You do not need experts in the government telling you what to do or how to undertake that journey. What you do need is guidance from family and friends, the grace of God, and a bit of luck. Government entities are neither qualified nor competent enough to handle any of those roles. Again, the wisdom surrounding this comes from the biblical accounts of Jesus Christ. We find that Jesus never promised freedom from the storms in life, only that when the storm comes, we can be at peace and exercise our individual authority over what happens next. This idea is called negative liberty, which is freedom from the government putting obstacles in your path. When on the journey of life, you must blaze a trail for yourself. It is not the government's job to pave the way for you, and it is also not the government's job to put up roadblocks and prevent you from moving forward. Forcibly taking from one group and giving it to another group is a direct interference in the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for both groups. The government is paving the way for one group and putting up roadblocks for the other. And on the journey of life, when governments are paving the way for some and blocking the path of others, that is fundamentally against the Declaration of Independence. It is, in fact, a declaration of dependence, dependence upon and slavery to the state.